I picked up an IBC tote yesterday. I think that's what these are called. Something International Bulk Carriers or something like that. They're everywhere here in this city because of all the industry we have. This is a 250-gallon one. And I'm going to use it to water my trees that I have yet to plant, but I will be planting when the weather turns. I've got a problem right now. It's got some residual oil in the bottom of it. And since the drain is not in the low point, can you see that? Yeah. See those two little pockets of oil? I'm going to dump some sawdust in there to soak it up. And then I got to try to figure out how to get the sawdust out. But I think the sawdust will soak up the oil. And Lord knows, I always have sawdust. So let's get some sawdust in there. All right, I think it's full the first time. I think one more time is going to get it. And I'm not putting it in my garbage can because it has a pretty strong odor. I'm going to put it in our fire pit. And when they lift the burn ban, if we ever get some rain, I'm going to burn this stuff.
It still had a pretty strong chemical odor, and I'm using it to water trees, not kill trees. So I've flushed it 2 or 3 times with soapy water, and I got it. It's smelling good now, so we're going to move it to the country.
So I mounted the water tank on that trailer I made a year or so ago that never got used. And this is just right because that's a 3,000-pound axle and it's all welded steel, so the weight of 250 gallons is not going to bother this little trailer as long as the tractor can pull it. So today I mounted the pump. This is a high pressure pump, but not a lot of gallons per minute. And it has a hose fitting, so all I need is a short hose to go from here to the driver's seat with a nozzle on it. It'll maintain pressure, and that'll be a done deal. Now I've got the sprayer set up in the back. Unfortunately, even folded in, they're wider than the tire, so that's, I'm gonna have to be kind of careful or we'll rip this thing off. So I need, okay, so this was to fill my buckets up. It kind of conflicts. Maybe I can just put a downspout. So this is to fill up a 5-gallon bucket or whatever. Coming this way, I'll need to have a T and hook this up. This is coming to the high pressure pump. And then I'll have to hook up the, I'll have to have a valve to hook up the sprayer, the wide sprayer. And I'm thinking of just doing it gravity, just taking these little plastic things off. They come off easy. And just having the water pour out gravity, because I don't think that pump up front is going to do it justice. So anyway, I'm done for today until I can go get some more pieces parts. But these little arms, they don't work. I'm going to take them off. That was a great idea. To be able to dribble water out of all these little holes. And I took the little orifices out so it'd be a bigger hole, but just gravity through a little water hose, it just barely dribbles. So, and looks like we bent this already. So I'm gonna take this off, and we're gonna try something different.
When I installed this thing, I wasn't real confident that it would actually work. So all I did was lag screw it to the wood, knowing that wouldn't hold up. In the wet dry cycles, the lag screws would come loose, but since I wasn't sure if it was going to be forever or not, I just lag screwed it, and it made it real easy to get it off. And it didn't come from Coach's backyard, but it did come from the side of the road, the same pile that I picked up those pipes that I made my gate posts out of. So glued PVC fittings are real easy and pretty strong, but they're really hard to do renovations on. Usually they all end up in the garbage. But in this case, I had enough pipe sticking out of the T that went to this little manifold that I was able to keep the manifold pretty much intact. And I just had to get a new threaded adapter and a new bushing no, what did I use? I used a threaded adapter, yeah, and a bushing from 2 to 3/4.
Cold. Yeah, I got a dry run on my new spreader system. It'll all be 2-inch instead of trying to go through a 5/8 inch hose. So I think I'll get more water. I got I drilled a 1/4 inch hole every 2 inches. I don't know if that's enough. I can drill the holes bigger. I hope it's not too much. You can always drill the holes bigger. And I didn't glue this. I screwed this together because we're getting river water, and I know eventually we'll get stuff in here that'll block up these holes. So I'll be able to take the screw out and tap the ends off and clean it out. I kind of wish it was a couple inches higher off the ground so we don't rip it off, but everything's up tight. I can pull it a little bit. So I'm always hesitant to do the glue thing because it's kind of like irreversible, but it's time. I was able to reuse my old manifold. I just turned it upside down and around, and I had to put an offset on here. This is what I fill my buckets with. So I'm gonna get the glue. We're gonna do it. Okay, it's done. I got it hanging with string right now because I don't have any straps, but I'll get some, and we're gonna go put some water in it and see if it works. Now I got the pump hooked up, but somewhere I lost my nozzle. So just having an open-ended hose, that's not good. The pump's going to run all the time. But I can check it out, see if it works. We'll get some water. So I got 12-volt power for the pump from the tractor. I got the hot one on the alternator because the battery is too hard to get to. And I put a fuse in it. And the negative is grounded on this piece of metal. And it runs out the back. And I bought some special plugs, but they broke like day one. So I went to Home Depot and got lamp plugs. They have a big side and a little side. You cannot get them backwards. So this is hot all the time. And then you just plug in the pump. And when you get through for the day, you just hang this so it doesn't fall down. And the same with this. Wrap it around. Same with this. Wrap it around and stick it where it can't get somewhere it's not supposed to be. And that's it for the electricity. I'm going to put a matching plug on the dump trailer so that I can get power from the alternator to keep the battery on the dump trailer charged between dumps. I won't be able to get enough power through this little bitty cord to run the hydraulic motor, but I got a battery on the trailer, so I'm hoping that the only current that'll go through here is what this alternator can spare to keep that battery on the dump trailer topped off. I think it'll work. Okay, yesterday I took my old 2-inch electric pump that I've had for a long time, and I set it. It's sitting on some concrete rubble. It's not in the mud. I put a riser, I put a horizontal, played with the dimensions for a while, and I nailed a board to hold it. And this is all really Yankee because I was scared it was going to fall, and if I fell, it was going to be terrible with all that steel and rubble and everything. So when I get help, I'll make it neater. So I glued that fitting, and I glued that fitting, and I'm hoping that I can spin it, and it'll turn in that fitting down there. I want to turn it over the road so I can get it over my water tank. So let's see what happens. Okay, so the whole pump is turning, which is not terrible. Maybe that's the way it needs to do every time. All right, I'm gonna pull up the water tank and get it close and see if it'll work. I got a generator. Unfortunately, I either have to have a gas pump or electric pump, both of which involve a motor. So I got my little Honda. Well, I got my neighbor's Honda 2000. So my plan is in the fall to plant a whole bunch of hardwoods in that first part of the property that I dried up with ditches. Colin's going to plant something here. Eventually I want to plant some bamboo to try to maybe sell it. No matter what we plant, we're going to need water. Fall is usually pretty dry around here, although the summer's been really dry. Anyway, so I needed a way to get water. The river is too low. It's like 8 feet below the road, so it was more of a challenge. this is kind of convenient. It's right here. It never dries up. And I'm not going to pump it down because as I start pumping, all the water from my new pond and all my new ditches is going to come right here and fill it back in. So let's pull up the water tank. Unfortunately, this generator that I really like is on a 13.3 amp automatic breaker. This pump probably pulls it easily 15, so not gonna happen today. I have to bring my big fat heavy ass generator over here.
So grabbed a generator that's been in storage at the foundry for years, put a new carburetor on it, cleaned out the gas tank, and it runs pretty well. Brought it out here and plugged into my pump, and my pump still wouldn't work. So I took the pump apart and it was just shot. It was wore out. It's 20-something years old. I didn't think it was worth rebuilding. So
I got a new pump down there in the water. It's an 1.25 inch discharge, and of course I bought 1.5 inch pipe, so I got to go get an adapter, which is 40 minutes drive. But anyway, I leveled up my 2x4 a little bit and I put a brace on it, but I think I want to rotate it toward the road a little bit because the closer I get it to the road, the less the horizontal pipe will sag. So I'm going to carefully unnail it. It's hard. I'm by myself. It's hard to hold it and nail it, but I think I'll finish nailing this brace up here because that's where it's going to go. And then I'll either bend these nails, I don't know, swing it around, bend it. I don't know. I got to get it closer to the road. And this 1.5 inch pipe is just sitting there. It's about to fall, so I need to grab it before it falls in the water. Well, let's see. Let's see if I parked in the right spot. Not exactly, but everything's kind of limber. So, yes, we are correct. Let's pump some water.
with the pump sitting on rubble, on concrete, and not in the mud, and this tall pipe which will backflow every time I turn the pump off, the pump should stay fairly clean. The water here is usually very clear, but I've been digging on the pond, which stirs up that clay, especially that gray clay, and it takes several days to clear up after I dig. It's so much fun. Let's watch it again. And I found my the nozzle that goes on the end of the hose. It was out here. I don't know why, on the generator. This is one of those inexpensive generators that turns gasoline to a lot of noise and a little bit of electricity. And it had been out in the rain behind the foundry with a cover over it, so it's going to stay right here in the rain with a cover over it. Probably that little generator would run this pump, but it's not mine. This is mine. We pulled the tank with the tractor filled all the way up to the top, and the tractor doesn't even know it's back there. The four-wheeler does know it's back there, so I filled it halfway and it does okay, but for the most part, when I'm using the four-wheeler, it's to go down the trail to water the trees that I am in the process of planting, and I don't need that much water. I don't even need half a tank, so this thing is just kind of, it's working good. Everything's falling into place.
Water full already. I'm gonna cut it off when I get to here. That's enough water. This is a willow tree that's a gift. We just put in the ground. It needs lots of water. I'll put my little extension pipe on here. Turn on the valve. We're gonna flood it. I had a little wall built around it, but I cleared some junk this morning. I kind of messed it up. I'm gonna have to redo it. There's a lot of water on this thing. The water's going right into the ground. We put a lot of peat moss with it.
So this is the best. I can sit on the four-wheeler, or in this case the tractor, and water the trees I want to plant. They got to be watered when you first plant them, especially this summer. God, we have nothing but dust out there. And these plants, these first batch that I planted, I really hadn't watered them very much, and they're still alive. I don't know how. They haven't grown much, but they're all still alive. So maybe with a little love, they'll do a lot better. So all the plants that I've planted, I marked with little red pin flags. Otherwise, it would be really, really hard to find them when you go down trying to water them or look at them or check them. So they all have a red pin flag by them. Some of the first ones have a yellow pin flag, but they're all marked one way or the other. Now I have some that I've planted that I can't reach with the hose by squirting, so we're using a little bucket here. And there's going to be a lot more that I'm going to have to use the bucket on, but just being able to walk a few steps back to the tractor to get water, it just works out so much better than trying to carry buckets in the back of the truckster and having them all splash out and crawling down to the river to dip water. It's just this is a huge improvement, and I think it's going to make a big difference long term in getting this area to a healthy forest with lots of mixed trees and not just pine trees and not just popcorn trees. Have a good healthy mixed forest. Same tree, different day. Our winters are very wet, and I'm expecting the wet weather to come anytime. It's been super dry, but once the colder, wet weather starts, I really won't have to do this anymore, except maybe next spring. I have to just check, keep the ground wet on these new plants. Once they've been in the ground for, I don't know, I'm not an expert at this, but it seems like a couple months, 6 months or whatever, you don't have to water them anymore. They're on their own. But all these newly planted trees, lots of oaks. This is a willow. This is probably the only willow. They need some help. We're gonna wet them as much as we can. And whatever leftover water is in the tank, I'm just spreading it around trying to get this grass to be a little less brown and maybe green. It's kind of late in the summer to have the grass grow, and you can see the dust. The dust is everywhere. It's kind of obnoxious, but watering the grass.
So I just drank, well, last time I was here, I drained the tank with the spreader, and I had the cap on, so I guess it made a vacuum and crunched my tank inwards. I hope it pops back out without a crack. It should. I'm getting ready to fill it up and we'll find out. Just popped back out.